or mayoralties. And to be frank, we've been running this party over the course of the last 11 months with a very, very minimal number of staff. The one that has perhaps borne the greatest burden is Zia, who was doing pretty much everything behind the scenes and sometimes in front as well. All of which explains his bid for freedom last week. He crawled out under the wire and was running away in the woods as fast as he possibly could, leaving a trail of not so brilliant tweets behind. But after 48 hours we got him and he's back inside, and he will be taking over a job that will still consume him for a good 12 hours a day, maybe not the 18 hours a day he's been doing for me over the course of the last 11 months. I'm a good, kind boss, he'll tell you. I thanked him once over the course of the last year. But he's back, and he's head of UK Doge, among other things, and I want to introduce him onto the stage right now. Zia.
Good morning, everybody. So sorry to put you all through that. I did realise the only way I was going to get a couple of days off was to resign and then come back. Look, I came into politics out of a sense of duty. I was over the moon and ecstatic when Nigel said he was returning to frontline politics to take over as leader of Reform UK. I said I wanted to do everything in my power to make him Prime Minister and to get a Reform government in. My commitment to that is redoubled. One of the things that happened actually as after I'd sent those ill-advised tweets, which I regret, was I was inundated with many messages, heartfelt messages, from people, frankly, in my day-to-day job I just didn't hear from that often because my information diet was just far too focused. And what I realised was just how important the Reform movement was to people. It is not just a political party. The words like heartfelt, people. There was a gentleman who was in palliative care who said that this movement represented what he viewed as really the last chance for this great country to turn itself around. So I realised how critical Reform UK was to so many millions of people, how critical Nigel is, his leadership, our amazing MPs, our volunteers, everybody around the country who has contributed to this. I could not leave that behind. And sometimes in life, and I hope all of you might agree with this, that sometimes when it takes having a little bit of distance from something to realise how important it is to you. I can't thank Nigel enough for having me back. I regret those tweets. I'm just to perhaps jump ahead of some questions, just to be really clear, I was exhausted, 11 months, and we're really proud of what we've achieved. We've gone from 14% support in the country to 30%. We've got 400 branches full of amazing volunteers across the country. The membership has quadrupled in size to 230,000, and we're very proud of what I think will be the most historically important set of local election results in this country's history. So I'm hugely fortunate, and I feel very blessed to be back amongst this amazing team. And look, I'm going to be serving, as Nigel said, to lead the Doge UK efforts. The national budget is £1.2 trillion a year. The amount of waste and, in some cases, corruption is off the charts, and a reckoning is coming. I want to give you an example. Let's take Kent County Council, where we visited. It feels like a lifetime ago now, but I think it was 2 weeks. Confirmed, I mean, by their own admission, £2.8 million of fraud last year, the vast majority of which is actually inside the so-called mandatory statutory budgets, in which there are apparently no savings to be found. They've been paying taxpayer money for taxi companies submitting invoices for journeys that never happened, adult social care companies submitting invoices for care of people who had long since deceased, paying employees who had long since left. As Lee said, the snouts have been in the trough for far too long. Look, there are a lot of great people who do great work in the public sector, but there is no doubt there's a huge amount of waste. We're assembling an all-star team of brilliant people who are working for free. They're going to use cutting-edge tools and technology to do, frankly, an inhuman amount of work to get to the bottom of where there is waste and potentially corruption. So very excited to do that. And actually, I think, in terms of how important it is, given the enormous growth in public spending and the state of this country's finances, I actually think it's going to be one of the most important missions this country will embark on since World War II. So I'm really excited about that. I'm even more excited that Dr. David Bull is going to be the new chairman of the party. Look, this party is no longer a startup. I think it's gone to scale-up phase, to use perhaps a tech analogy. And look, the reality is what we need now in a chairman is someone who is an incredible communicator, someone who's loved universally across the party, loved by the volunteers, someone who's going to, I think, do a better job than me at energizing volunteers on the front line. He's going to have more time to do it. I think you probably agree he's a more affable and charming man than I am. So look, I am hugely excited that Dr. David Bull is going to be taking up the role of chairman. I wholeheartedly congratulate him, and I know he's going to do an incredible job for us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Zia, thank you very much indeed. Zia's done a phenomenal job, but so much of what he's had to do has been in the office in London. We are dividing responsibilities within the party. We've got a new head of operations. We're going to have a new head of treasury very shortly. And our new chairman, Dr. David Bull, known to me, we served together in the European Parliament for a period of time. To those of you who are longer in the tooth, he was on John Craven's Newsround years ago, and has done an awful lot of television in the intervening time. And he was hosting a programme on Talk Radio until about 5 minutes ago when he rang the boss. And David is a terrific communicator, and Zia was being very self-deprecatory there. But David's job is not to get involved with the admin, is not to get involved with the tech. It's to give leadership, and above all, to give leadership to that volunteer army out there of people, as Zia mentioned, of 450 branches, and they're going to be seeing an awful lot of Dr. David Bull over the course of the coming years, and he comes into this job with terrific verve, energy, enthusiasm, and it's going to be great fun. Dr. David Bull. You're going to photograph over here? Yes. If you do the hand over, Zia, if you just pose with David for the hand over, you don't need to do Where else? Straight ahead, please. Which one? Yeah. And then straight ahead again, please. Guys, you should come to the mark camera just for one more. And just over here as well. Take it away. Thank you.
Well, very good morning to all the members, first of all, from Reform UK. I want to say a very good morning to all the supporters of Reform UK and, of course, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I am absolutely bowled over. I am thrilled. I am delighted to take up this position of chairman of Reform UK. It is the fastest growing political party this country has ever seen. It is an absolutely massive role, which you've heard from Zia. It's a huge role. I will take it up with vigour, determination, enthusiasm, and a smattering of trepidation. It is an absolutely vast role. I'm also deeply honoured that Nigel has asked me to do this. We go back a very long way, as you heard. I'm absolutely thrilled that he's put his trust into me as we continue with the growth, the development and the professionalisation of the party. Now, I'm really sorry that the story broke last night on Mail Online, and I'm very sorry about that. The thing that I'm most upset about is after 30 years of broadcasting in news and current affairs, from Newsround, Watchdog, Health Check, Tomorrow's World, and also my show on Talk TV, the journalist in question decided to pin my entire career on the world's largest live ghost hunt, which I used to present some 20 years ago. Having said that, I'm going to use my skills in the paranormal to dig around and find skeletons in the closet of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party as well. Now, as Nigel said, my role is very much going to be externally facing. I've spent a lot of time on the ground campaigning with Richard over the years, and the lifeblood of this party is the voluntary party. They are an extraordinary group of people. They go out regardless of the weather, they knock on doors, they put leaflets through the letterboxes, they set up market stalls, and they really are such an important, vital asset to this party. What I want to do is to go around the country to show some love to all of those people who believe that this country deserves better. So that's the externally facing role. But one other thing that's crucial is we are growing and developing the professional party as well. So my role is about bringing those two parts of the party together, the voluntary party, the professional party, and I want to act as a conduit between the two. I do want to pay enormous tribute to Zia. He has done an extraordinary job. If I look back to my involvement in the party, Zia has professionalised the party beyond belief. As he talked about all the branches that he has set up, the governance structures and the candidates that we've put into place, that is no mean feat at all. I'm also, I have to say, on a very selfish note, delighted you are staying and, of course, heading up the DOGE unit, which is going to be absolutely vital as we move forward and show what Reform UK can do in local government. I'm also thrilled he's going to help with fundraising as well, because, of course, that's important for any political party. And also Zia is the most fantastic media performer. He's a great charismatic person in front of camera, and he will also be helping me and the members of Parliament in terms of spreading the message of Reform UK on the national and local media. Now, I've actually been involved with the party, as Nigel said, for a very long time. I was elected in the Brexit Party as an MEP for the North West. I've stayed with the party ever since then. And in fact, I think it's fair to say that Reform UK was founded in my kitchen in Suffolk, I think, with Richard Tice. Nigel decided to go off on a sabbatical, and Richard gamely stood up and became the leader of the party. I became the deputy leader of the party, and we grew the party from 2 to 3%, then 6, 7, 8%. But when Nigel came back, we have now rocketed off the charts. We're now polling consistently at 31% across the board, pretty much in every single poll you look at. And the results are evident. We are now in overall control of 13 councils. We are the largest party on 2 other councils as well, Doncaster and Cornwall. We have 832 councillors across the country. We're gaining more by the day when people defect, or indeed when there are by-elections as well. When you look at our membership, it has also rocketed to 233,000 members. That is just shy of 250,000 members in this country. And let me tell you, in the last quarter of last year, we gained 70,000 members alone. That is unprecedented in modern political history. What else have we achieved? Well, of course, 5 members of Parliament, of course. We have 2 mayors in Greater Lincolnshire with Dame Andrea Jenkins, and Hull and East Yorkshire with Luke Campbell, MBE. The key for me with this party is we have grown it from the ground up. This is a grassroots party. It is through the strength, determination, hard work of all those people around the country who've been out and about canvassing, delivering, leafleting and setting up those market stalls. So what happens from here? Well, as Nigel said, I've just told my boss at Talk TV that I shall be taking up this role. Good morning, Denny. So I shall be going around the country. I want to really be there to support all of our members, our volunteers, our elected officials, and of course, crucially, our candidates. Being a candidate is really difficult. And of course, you have to work very hard. You often get abuse hurled at you. And I want to be there because I've been there many times before to help and to support them. And given my background, I will also be helping the members of Parliament, Zia, Nigel, being a voice on national and local media as well. I see this as the ultimate push. We are going to fight and we are going to win the next general election. And we are going to put Nigel Farage into number 10, and we will become the governing party of the United Kingdom. Can we do it? Well, to quote Bob the Builder, yes we can. Thank you very much.
David, thank you very much. Could I have my press list back, please? There was a list there with 20 press names on it. What a start. Who knew the chairman was a tea leaf? Right, okay, we have a lot of questions. I will attempt to rattle through them as best I can, but obviously if you need to direct a question at somebody else, we'll get them up on stage. Let's start with Jack Fenwick from the BBC.
Jack Fenwick, BBC News. A week ago, we didn't know that you'd be standing here announcing a new chairman. Now, parties led by yourself have had a number of rows and resignations over the years. Does that all need to end if Reform is going to be a credible party of government?
Rows and resignations? Yes, that's right. 7 chairmen since 2022 and 4 leaders. They're called the Conservative Party, and they're like ferrets in a sack. And, you know, people come and go in politics, but I think you'll find, if you look around, even in this room, there are people that have worked with me for 5 years, people in this room that have worked with me for 10 years, people in this room who worked for me for 20 years. People I employed back in the city, back in the 1990s, are still friends of mine. I am very, very loyal to people, all the while they're loyal to me. But in politics, it doesn't always quite work like that. And, I mean, you know, given the sins that were committed last week, look at my levels of forgiveness. The serious point is, yes, of course, what we have to do is to build a team as we go forward to the next general election. And that's going to have to be a very broadly based team. We're going to have, you know, effectively, as we go into the next election and before, you know, you're going to need to see who our potential Chancellor is. You're going to need to see, and I understand all of that, and that will happen as part of our evolution. Thank you very much. Adam Cherry, GB News.
Thank you. Can I just clarify the remit of the new chairman position? Is it mostly ambassadorial? Is David Bull, is his homework going to be marked by Zia Yusuf and yourself? Does he have any sort of executive administrative function?
Oh gosh, that's all a bit too clever for me. It's perfectly clear what Zia's going to do. He's going to head up UK Doge. He's going to continue to help work on policy development, such as the crypto and digital assets bill that I launched at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. He'll go on doing media, as David said. You know, he's an excellent media performer, you know, wherever he is, whoever's questioning him. And he will also continue to help, as and where he can, raising money for the party. His roles and responsibilities are clear. I will be leaning on him to help us with some data things, stuff that he's done for us brilliantly in the past. David's job is not ambassadorial. David's job is inspirational. You know, for example, In Greater London alone, we have to find 1,800 candidates to fight those 32 boroughs that are up next year. We have to get them through a vetting process. Getting people to stand for election does take a bit of leadership, a bit of inspiration. It's something I've been doing a lot of over the course of the last year. David will play a very leading role in that. Plus, when you've got a voluntary party, these people are giving of their own time and money, and they need actually someone to spend a lot of time going around and seeing them. There's no way that Zia and I could do as much of that as we'd like to have done, and David is going to spend a lot of time out on the road. It is a lot more than ambassadorial. Thank you very much indeed. Jack Elsom from The Sun.
Thank you, Nigel. Jack Elsom from The Sun. It's been clear for the past few days that Reform are not afraid to have some robust conversations about some of the big issues. So can I ask about another one? Because after the sentencing of the Southport killer in January, Lee Anderson and Richard Tice mooted bringing back the death penalty. Sarah Pochin said in the Runcorn by-election she would never support such a thing. So can I ask what your and the party's position is on that? Thank you.
These are issues of conscience, just as the assisted dying debate will be when it comes up on Friday, just as the abortion limit. These are all issues of conscience. Nothing on the death penalty will be part of party policy. I have to say, personally, I think given there have been 500 quite serious miscarriages of justice in this country since the early 1970s, I don't think I could ever support it, but I understand why others take a different point of view. Although I do think it's quite interesting, there's a younger generation coming through who seem to increasingly support the death penalty, and I suspect it will be back within the next decade as an issue of major national debate. Not quite yet, but it's coming. But certainly these things will not be party policy, far, far from it. Sam Coates from Sky News.
Nigel Farage, how important is it, how useful is it to have a new chairman who's got lots of experience on the telly?
Well, actually very good, as you know yourself, having made the transition to being a TV star. And I even think, Sam, you might have bought one or two new suits, although they're still crumpled. And I think message delivery and simplicity of message in politics is very important. I mean, sit and watch Question Time. Hear the first question to the minister or the shadow minister. They'll give a 90-second answer. Nudge the person next to you and say, what did he or she just say? And they'll go, can't quite remember. So clarity of message, message delivery, getting people to understand what you're saying, even if they disagree with it, is vital. And I think David's got more experience than all the rest of us in doing that. And I think that really, really does matter. Carl, ITV.
Thank you very much. Carl Dinnan, ITV News. I just wonder where you stand on Sizewell C and whether or not your government, the government that you would head, would put billions of pounds into nuclear power, or would you prefer coal?
We need coal in small quantities for specialist reasons, and we should mine our own and not import it from Japan and Australia. But that is quite different to reopening every coal-fired power station in Britain, although I think it was moronic to close down Ratcliffe, the last one, which is a very useful backup. Absolutely moronic thing to do, but then from Ed Miliband, what would you expect? The arguments being made this morning in favour of Sizewell are remarkable. We're being told that it's carbon zero energy and that it gives us constant energy. Yes. So how can the government on the one hand argue for that and on the other argue for a massive increase in intermittent renewables whose energy doesn't fit our national grid system? And it's very interesting that on May the 29th, we were once again a whisker away from the lights going out in this country. And we've had several days this year when we've had to import over 20% of our electricity. This is the lunacy that we were taken into. Boris Johnson, the Saudi Arabia of wind, that being carried on. We are, as a party, pro-nuclear. We think ultimately, if you do want to reduce carbon emissions, it is the only way, frankly, to do it. I would just make 2 points. One being that both Hinkley and Sizewell are a pretty outdated model of nuclear reactor, first point. And my second point, it's remarkable how much nuclear energy costs in this country compared to other countries in the world who can do it at a half or maybe even a third of the price. I'll talk more about that over the course of the next week. Thank you very much indeed. Caitlin from PA.
Thank you. Yesterday when you were speaking in Port Talbot, you said that Mr Yusuf's resignation plunged your party into a difficult place for a few hours. Do you have confidence that that is not going to happen this time? And if not, have you made any changes to ensure it doesn't?
Yeah, we've locked him in a room. He can't do it again. Look, you know, I mean, have you ever made a mistake in your life? And the more people work under pressure, and, you know, in mistake, one tweet these days, and suddenly the whole world looks different and looks terrible. I think it's very unlikely that Zia, who is a very diligent person, will do that again. Will we never, ever, 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 ever again have someone say or do something stupid? Of course we will. It's life. It's human beings. And, you know, people's faults and people's virtues, I think, are magnified in politics compared to business and many other walks of life. David Wilcox, Daily Mail. Good morning, everybody. We are running very quickly to try and catch up with ourselves. I have to say that what happened on May the 1st far exceeded all of our expectations. We did not expect to be in control of quite as many county councils or mayoralties. And to be frank, we've been running this party over the course of the last 11 months with a very, very minimal number of staff. The one that has perhaps borne the greatest burden is Zia, who was doing pretty much everything behind the scenes and sometimes in front as well. All of which explains his bid for freedom last week. He crawled out under the wire and was running away in the woods as fast as he possibly could, leaving a trail of not so brilliant tweets behind. But after 48 hours we got him and he's back inside, and he will be taking over a job that will still consume him for a good 12 hours a day, maybe not the 18 hours a day he's been doing for me over the course of the last 11 months. I'm a good, kind boss, he'll tell you. I thanked him once over the course of the last year. But he's back, and he's head of UK Doge, among other things. And I want to introduce him onto the stage right now. Zia.
Good morning, everybody. So sorry to put you all through that. I did realise the only way I was going to get a couple of days off was to resign and then come back. Look, I came into politics out of a sense of duty. I was over the moon and ecstatic when Nigel said he was returning to frontline politics to take over as leader of Reform UK. I said I wanted to do everything in my power to make him Prime Minister and to get a reform government in. My commitment to that is redoubled. One of the things that happened, actually, as after I'd sent those ill-advised tweets, which I regret, was I was inundated with many messages, heartfelt messages, from people, frankly, in my day-to-day job I just didn't hear from that often because my information diet was just far too focused. And what I realised was just how important the reform movement was to people. It is not just a political party. The words like heartfelt, people. There was a gentleman who was in palliative care who said that this movement represented what he viewed as really the last chance for this great country to turn itself around. So I realised how critical Reform UK was to so many millions of people, how critical Nigel is, his leadership, our amazing MPs, our volunteers, everybody around the country who has contributed to this. I could not leave that behind. And sometimes in life, and I hope all of you might agree with this, that sometimes when it takes having a little bit of distance from something to realise how important it is to you. I can't thank Nigel enough for having me back. I regret those tweets. I'm just to perhaps jump ahead of some questions, just to be really clear. I was exhausted, 11 months, and we're really proud of what we've achieved. We've gone from 14% of support in the country to 30%. We've got 400 branches full of amazing volunteers across the country. The membership has quadrupled in size to 230,000, and we're very proud of what I think will be the most historically important set of local election results in this country's history. So I'm hugely fortunate, and I feel very blessed to be back amongst this amazing team. And look, I'm going to be serving, as Nigel said, to lead the Doge UK efforts. The national budget is £1.2 trillion a year. The amount of waste and, in some cases, corruption is off the charts, and a reckoning is coming. I want to give you an example. Let's take Kent County Council, where we visited.